So we're getting out.
And just like that, surrounded by sycophants and psychopaths, Trump hit a reset on all the recent advancements in the battle of ideas over human involvement in climate change. He made a show of it too, as he single-handedly led the world down a dark path by hyping up his decision like it's the next episode of The Bachelor. But what was your reason, Donald?
That disadvantages the United States to the exclusive benefit of other countries, leaving American workers, who I love, and taxpayers to absorb the cost.
Glad you specified that. Taxpayers, who get no love, I guess, given the fact that you're not a taxpayer, allegedly.
In terms of lost jobs, lower wages, shuttered factories, and vastly diminished economic production.
If only we had a mostly non-binding voluntary agreement where the U.S. could dictate its level of involvement without any penalties being incurred. Oh wait, we had that. It's the agreement that you pulled out of that won't even take effect until the moment you leave office anyway. Fingers crossed that you won't be reelected. Is this why you're trying to bring back fossil fuels in a bigly way, Donald?
Well, I think that climate change is just a very, very expensive form of tax. A lot of people are making a lot of money. I know much about climate change.
The Republican argument surrounds jobs. We might lose 25% of Florida in the next couple of decades, but at least my unemployed uncle will have a job. Now, this narrative is only half true, because renewable energy initiatives are a booming, flourishing industry with more job opportunities than any other energy sector, especially at a time when there's need to build out infrastructure. Renewable energy has 12 times more jobs than all of fossil fuels combined, even though fossil fuels get 13 times more subsidies from the government. And the renewable sector is growing despite Republican attempts, while scarce resources like coal, oil, and gas are not. So spare me your fucking job arguments. Because when you build a pipeline like the one in North Dakota, that already leaked, by the way, I know some of you might have slept through that as we were caught up in the next Trump insane tweet, but when you build a pipeline, you employ a substantial number of people only while the pipeline is being built. Once the construction ends, the number of sustained jobs drops to around 35. So if the immediate jobs come from building infrastructure and nothing else, why can't we focus that same effort on renewable energy, an industry that's growing and that doesn't rely on a scarce resource that's ruining the planet? The answer is, and always will be, the same. Because the US government is beholden to its oil baron benefactors, and Trump, the supposed populist outsider, is no different. He cooks just as hard, if not harder, for those same corporate interests. Otherwise, why would he choose Rex Tillerson, the ex-CEO of ExxonMobil, as Secretary of State? Remember that tired old pay-for-play argument Trump consistently advanced about Hillary when she was Secretary of State? I'm sure Rex Tillerson wasn't even particularly influential in the lightly publicized recent deal from Trump's Saudi trip where the Saudi government and ExxonMobil agreed to build a co-owned oil refinery in the Gulf of Mexico. After all, the White House press releases didn't mention Tillerson as being present, as if he was a phantom or a scared-looking James Comey blending in with the blue drapes in the Oval Office. Well, that straight-to-DVD villain-looking fuck was there. By the way, even that sinister-looking asshole opposed pulling out of the Paris Agreement, just like Javanka allegedly did. At a time when even ExxonMobil shareholders are forcing their company to turn over the climate change data that they've accumulated for decades, pulling out of the Paris Agreement is just a symbolic fuck you to Obama and a sign to the rest of the world that we're willing to step aside and let China become the global leader. Because countries, companies, and states are already showing support that they will continue to fight climate change, even if the US government tries to close their eyes and act like it's a hoax. It's like Trump has become the Hitler of climate change, a self-righteous, maniacal tyrant surrounded by sycophants who have united the rest of the world against him and present a massive threat to the future of our planet. And domestically, the main thing to worry about isn't really the Paris Accord, that's minuscule in comparison to gutting the EPA and maliciously spreading misinformation about climate change science. And this works, by the way. That's the reason why oil giants collectively spend more than $114 million a year, so morons can believe and spew out shit like this.
You know, you're not allowed to use hairspray anymore because it affects the ozone. You know that, right?
Well, this moron happens to be the president. Repeat after me. There's a scientific consensus that anthropogenic climate change is happening. Anthropogenic climate change is happening. I know you care about things like this, Donald, so even though this won't be on Fox's The Five and you most likely won't see it, but what do you think your legacy is going to be? Do you really think you're on the right side of history when the whole world is laughing at you? They're not laughing with you, they're laughing at you because you've made a mockery of our country. The rest of the world thought we were stupid when Bush was president. Now we're all wishing we could go back to being Bush stupid. At least Bush was a likable idiot. You somehow combined Dick Cheney's malevolence and likability with Bush's stupidity. Good job. I'm Hassan Piker. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Hassan D. Piker and on Twitter at Hassan the Hun. And this has been The Breakdown.